what does it really take to grow, modernize, and lead in an industry that is constantly evolving? Well, I am Monica Duani, entrepreneur, insurance, and innovation leader, and someone who believes that transformation isn't something we talked about, it is something we built. On Transcend with M, we sit down with leaders shaping the future of the insurance industry, founders, executives, and operators navigating growth, complexity, and change. They're not just success stories, they're real conversations about structure, resilience, leadership, and the decisions that strengthen businesses from the inside out. Because the future of insurance demands more than growth, it demands readiness. This is Transcend with M, where we rise, modernize, and lead with purpose. I just saw some news about the new tool that you are launching out there.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting.
And it's so funny because I remember we were in Phoenix, I think, the Better Agency, I think it was the conference, and you were talking about this tool, and it's 2026. And now I see it becoming a reality, and I was like, wow, he took 2 years to test this thing and make it. So tell me all about it.
No, so it's to put it easily, the number one issue that every agency has, the number one stress. There's no agency that does not have this stress, and it's the number one stress that causes them all their problems. I mean, I figured this out. They're routing the work to the wrong person. I mean, it's one of those things that you can't overcome that. So by routing the work to the wrong person, as an agency owner, you're not getting the things you need. We tell our staff, we want to increase sales, we want to increase retention, we want to increase renewals, we want cross sales, and we want you to talk to our customers. That's what we want. So we hire our account managers, our CSRs, and everything, and we tell them that's what we want. At the end of the day, they walk out the door, they go home, they're cooking dinner, and they want to pull their hair out, and they feel like they didn't get anything done throughout the day because they were doing ID cards, they were on billing calls, they were doing COIs, they were doing quotes. They weren't doing what they know they're expected to do from their boss, their agency owner, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. That's the problem of every agency, and this is what causes stress for the agency owner and causes stress for the staff. And so me, upon going through having a virtual employee company and listening to the customers and saying, you have a $2 million agency and you have 4 VEs, and here's a $2 million agency and they have no VEs. The difference, one's productive, one has efficiencies, one's loves what they're doing, the other not productive, not efficient, hates what they're doing. The only difference is they have unlicensed people that they route the right work to that then frees up the staff to do what the agency owner wants them to do. And then the agency owner gets what he or she needs. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. That is the problem with every agency. It comes right down to that. And I thought to myself, no one has created a tool. And so it's the next logic routing engine. Someone calls in, says, hey, I need to make an auto change. On the phone, the AI hears what they just said, opens up the auto change form. The person asks, what's the year, what's the make, what's the model? No typing. Just it automatically pre-fills the form out. You could have your accountant answer the phone. You could have your producer answer the phone. You can have anybody you want to answer the phone. They hit submit and it gets logically routed to the right person. So the only thing that goes to licensed people are sales things, renewal things, elevated conversations, cross sells. They don't even know about ID cards being given unless they go into the system and they see that it's documented in there. This is what creates clarity. And then we have a third person. We have licensed, we have unlicensed, and we now have the future workforce, agentic bots. So now what we find ourselves doing is even the work that the unlicensed person, the VE, is doing, we're now offloading that work to them so that the VEs can do higher level jobs to work more in cahoots and conjunction with the licensed people. That's what it is. And then that's part one. Then Next OS is the operating system that actually is the bot that goes in, logs in, does the change. And then Next Intelligence is what oversees the whole thing to make it smarter. The consumer will never know all those. They'll just know Next One. That's the name of the system, Next One. Yeah. So that's what it is.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on that.
It's common sense to me. It's common sense. You know?
It's fantastic. I mean we think about we all talk about the dreading items, right? That take up on our time and day. And at the end of the day, you just spend all your day cleaning your inbox and you really didn't got anything done. So I love the proactive, approach.
No one's ever thought about that. Yeah. Like, why does somebody say they didn't get anything done when they spent all day doing things?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess it takes a little bit of weed for you to sit around and really think about this shit like I have, right? And you're like, how do I solve that problem? And then when you start talking to people and say, what do you mean by that? You've been sitting here working all day. What do you mean? Yeah, but I'm not doing the things that my agency owner expects out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the staff is frustrated. Why? Because they're not pleasing the person who owns the business. And the agency owner is like, fuck, my staff doesn't give a shit about what I tell them. Yes, they do. That's why they're stressed out.
There is no reward of incentive because they don't feel that they're doing anything productive.
And so how do we fix that? Get that shit out of their hands, And then the licensed person, you would think that if you tell the licensed person, like, hey, if the phone rings and it's one of these things, just give it over to an unlicensed person. You used to own a VE company. They don't do it because to them, they can't comprehend the fact that I've always done this. This is a licensed task. No, it's not. It's not a licensed task, So anyways, that's
that brings us to the question of 8 to 12 months. There is a lot of buzz out there. There is a lot of new bots, new AIs, a lot coming into the insurance industry. As you know, we're a little behind on adoption on things. But how do you see agents, right? Independent agents having to adapt in the next, 6 to 12 months in order not only to maximize value, but efficiency, people, operations, right? Because at the end of the day, I think our industry has always had this perception of I'm going to throw people into my problem. So people will solve the overload of work, the overload of everything. Then with systems, this system came up, so I'm just going to connect my systems and the systems will help the people. But now we're at another level, right? At another surgeons, at another season of the insurance industry. So how do you feel agents will need to adapt in the next 6 to 12 months before they all go crazy and this, industry completely changes the ball game with certain things?
Email did not increase my productivity, and it may have increased my efficiencies a little bit. Maybe it increased my productivity a little bit, right? Maybe a lot of your listeners don't know. They're not old like me, even though I'm young. I'm just saying I started back in 2002 when we still had carriers that we would put the application into an envelope and send it for the quote. Not, because they didn't even have manuals. Not all of the companies did. You would send it in and then they would quote it up, call you, and then you'd get it back 7 days later. That's incomprehensible for people today, but that's how it was, right? So when I got email, okay, moved a little bit faster, and then I was told the fax machine's huge. And yeah, it was a way to transact business a little bit faster. Social media, that was one of the things that was just going to be huge. It helped me brand and market a little bit better. The internet, okay, that allowed me to now not have to use the manual. I could actually have some portals and things I could go on in Raiders, right? That's different than AI. You will see a fast progression from the insurance industry. When Jason Cass has a 25 to 30% profit margin, and in the next 12 to 18 months, I go to a 70 to 80% profit margin, that's going to catch people. Mm-hmm. When best practices says that the best practices for agencies is 55% of their revenue goes to people costs, and that's best practice. As you said a minute ago, we always just throw people at it. Well, we're a little overloaded. Let's just get some more people. And we can do that because we make good money as insurance agents. But whenever I sit in front of you, and so let's think about that. $1 million agency, $600,000 of their business is going to people. And I sit in front of you, and let's say I'm $1 million agency, and I have $250,000 to $300,000 going towards that. That's going to catch your attention. Mm-hmm. That's different than the email. That's different than the internet. That's different than the facts and social media. This is real stuff here. Then not only are my efficiencies, so the money I'm gaining that I'm normally doing now my $1 million is not incrementally going up 5, 10, 15%. It's going up 30%. Because in the manual that I write, it's called the SES, the Swing Efficiency Score. It's a metric I created, 14 of them. And what it says is when you start to collapse your efficiencies, you have nothing. You can either fire people or you can swing them into productivity. So you're saving on both ends. So I go to an agency and say, hey, I was $1 million. I'm spending $250,000 on my people, and I grew to 1.5 million, 500,000 in revenue in 1 year. That's going to catch attention for agents. And that's why they're going to adopt and progress. There's really been no incentive. At the end of the day, we still grow 5, 10, 15%. I can cut my expenses a little bit. Yeah, I can get some leads coming in. Yeah, my rater helps me do 4 quotes instead of 8, or it helps me do 8 quotes instead of 4 quotes on a day. That's nothing big. You're not going to bend over backflips for that, but you will with AI. And so I believe that. Now, there will be 2 types of people. There will be those, it'd probably be the 80-20 rule. 20% of them are going to say, hey, I'm going to build this on my own. I'm going to create my own tech stack. The other 80% are going to say, I just want to sell insurance, but I want that shit Cass has got when he's talking about that $250,000 he's spending and he's increased that. That's what I want. And that's what they're going to do. And that's what agencies will do. And so that's how it's gonna go down. It's not rocket science. It's not. I also don't believe that we're gonna just be mass firing people. Okay, I just don't. Number one, we're insurance agents. We have a license. You have to have a license to still do this. And there's something, Monica, that no one talks about. Okay, and this is the most common sense thing of any industry. If we lost 2 million jobs in the next 12 months from all industries combined, the government would start freaking the F out. You have to do something. So like when Dario Amati, the CEO of Anthropic, puts out a thing and says of the $50 million or 50% of the 15 million could be eliminated in the next 12 months. No, it's not. You couldn't. These people have mortgages. They have car payments. They have kids. You can't, the government's not going to just go, well, see, that goes away. When you know how things are, when people quit buying homes, that alerts the government really, really fast. Yeah. The government gets involved. When people quit buying things, the government gets involved really, really fast. So how's that going to be if you have 5, 10, 15, 20 million people that lose their job over the next 24 to 36 months? That tells me it may be possible, but is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Do I believe our industry, we now have a shortage. So I guess the flip side to that is, how do we use these technology to our advantage so we can flip people to do the job that we don't have hires for? because it's going to take time. There is a big gap. It's an about 20-year gap in order for us to be able to
So
bring
right,
more
Monica.
people into the industry. I I see it from the positive side. Like, if
Correct. I do too.
if that 80% knows how to utilize this right, then we will be able to swing people into creating more revenue, more profitability, thinking ahead, and getting them invested into thinking how we can work better and more efficiently while making all these changes and all these efficiencies, bringing them into the agency or the carrier or whatever is that you work on, right? Like agency, broker, MGA, whatever, because we're all going through all this change together.
That's right. The trucking industry. The trucking industry is lacking 600,000 truckers right now. So when we start thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to have self-driving truckers. Well, actually, we need that. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden people get put out of business. We got 600,000 positions we need to fill first before we even get there. Exactly what you're saying about we need people. So it's not like we're going to lose them. Now, who's going to be eliminated? Now, the old saying, AI will not eliminate agents, but agents who use AI will eliminate those who don't, right? Who's going to be eliminated? And in my book, I have a new book out. I'm not trying to push it. It's just the way it is, but it's future ready. The strategic case for scaling, routing, and strategic case for scaling or for for structure, routing, and scaling. Apologize, just came out with the book. And when I talk about this in there, the first 3 chapters are a new kind of leader. The leadership has to change. The core principles of always being a leader will be the same, but to be a leader, and what I mean by that is if you're an agency that's let your staff dictate how you lead, you're in trouble. Because these new tools, you're going to need to take them. You're going to need to adopt them. And like I said, it's going to make you more efficient, more productive. There's going to be some staff that's going to go, I'm not doing that. I'm out the door. And then the agency's owner is going to go, shit, I'm 55, I'm 65. Now I got to retrain people. I'll just sell. That's how it's going to go. It's not because the agency owner is going to want out. He or she's going to see the efficiencies and be like, man, I want some of that. But it's their people who have let their staff dictate who they are. Those are the people that are going to be in big time trouble.
Yeah.
Big time trouble.
I totally agree with you. And we see that happening more often than not. We see when legacy agencies are making shifts. And I had this experience when I did the transition between becoming a partner at Breezy and when I left GNN. I worked in between at a legacy agency, and I've never worked at traditional agencies before. I've always worked with startups, I'm always on that, let's do 40 changes in one day.
Yeah.
But, and I will tell you, like, it wasn't a fit because I couldn't effectively bring in an idea or a tool or map out something that could change dramatically, from a financial standpoint, something without taking 4 to 5 months to figure it out.
I can see that.
Because I don't know, Sandy over there, she's been with us for 38 years and and nobody has ever claimed her to do her job differently.
Right.
And that's dangerous.
It is, but we needed that knowledge. Yes. And if we got rid of her or we kept her, it didn't really change much.
Yeah.
We didn't really get much more productivity. It wasn't worth it. That's the difference. It's going to be worth it. You will see agencies move, but they'll start moving quicker. Money talks and BS walks is the saying. And that's what AI brings to agencies. Not the BS.
Tell me a little bit about IndieTech. I missed it this year, but I am already on for next year.
Wow, how great that was.
I just saw the video and I'm like, man, need to arrive at least 2 days earlier so I can enjoy the pool.
Yes, you should. You should.
So you're bringing all these companies together, right? So talk to me about IndieTech. Talk to me about all these companies coming in hot, and what can we expect to see?
It's going to be great
on the market? Talk to me.
So me and Mitch are sitting in the back of a Ivan's meeting a day before the Applied Net, and I'm excited about the things that are going on there. And I'm hearing about there's some companies that weren't allowed to come to be because I guess they were competitors of Applied and whatever, which make no bones. I think Applied's great. They're good for our industry. I'm just telling you the story for any listeners who are listening. And I said to Mitch, Mitch, when you think about it, there's no true tech show for independent insurance agents. And then I started thinking to myself, you know what? When an agent goes to a conference or a convention in their state for PIA, Big I, whatever it is, they don't go there for technology. They go there because of CE. They go there to find a new homeowners market. They go there to find about a new aggregator. They go there to network with other agents that they haven't seen in a while. That's the reason they go. They don't go for technology. But yet, when you do go to these events, there will be 80 vendors in there and maybe 5 or 6 of them are tech companies. And I said to Mitch, how are we supposed to expect agents to have technology and adapt to it if they're not exposed to it and they don't know about it? And then how do you expect technology companies to go to every event that costs $5,000, $10,000 once you get the costs and the travel? So I thought, we need to create something, and we're going to name it IndieTech. And our whole basis is Switzerland. Okay. And it's neutral. It's not about Applied. It's not about Vertifor. It's not about Hawksoft. It's a neutral place for agents to go and learn about technology. And so we did it. Worked our ASS off. We had 120 agents come. We considered that success. But if you know me and Mitch's ego, we thought we'd have 10,000 people the first year. But, so we took 1% of that 10,000, we thought. And then so
Jason,
you got us. That's what everybody kept telling us. So we kept holding out. And so then we did that. It was fantastic. We kind of had a different thing. And then the second year we did it was 283 people, I think is what it was. We were like, okay, this is good. But what's funny about it is both years I had it in 23 and 24, I had them in the fall, but at different times. One was at the beginning of September. The other was at the end of September. And I had hurricanes who came up out of the Gulf and took my event out 2 times in a year. A hurricane and took it out in Indiana. So for all of you listeners, I forgot to tell you, it was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And if you notice, like the marketing, Indianapolis, Indy, I was trying that, but it didn't work either because hurricanes kept taking me out. And so I thought, okay, we're not going to do it in 2025. We're going to wait until the beginning of 2026, and we're moving this to Florida. Now, most people would say, wait a minute, hurricanes are taking you out? You're going to Florida? Nope, that's after hurricane season. So we made sure of that. But I knew if it was warm and nice, people would come.
To October. So after November, you're good.
You're good. You're good. Now, ironically enough, what took me out this year? A snowstorm. So here I am in Florida and a snowstorm takes me out. I mean, you can't make this shit up, Monica. It's like Hollywood around here. So anyways, we have this event this year. It's fantastic. We have over 430 people that come. It was dynamic. And so this year I was going to go to Phoenix, Arizona. This is the first time I'm actually telling this part. I was going to go to Phoenix, Arizona. And I had a lady inside of IndieTech. She said, I used to be a board member for Florida. We're looking and we've been talking about doing a tech show for our Florida insurance agents. And if many people don't know who are listeners, FAIA has one of the best shows in Orlando every June. And so they had this conflict. They wanted to make it work. And she said, hey, why don't you call them? I called them. I talked to Kyle, the CEO. I tell him, he says, Cass, we want to partner with you on this. Well, to do that, I had to go back to Florida. So I scrapped my stuff in the Phoenix, went back, found it at the Hilton West Palm Beach. It's going to be February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. On the 1st is Brain Share. That's 150 people in a room. It's invite only. This year, we are going to open it up to around 20 or 30 people, but it's invite only. Now, on Tuesday and Wednesday, which is IndieTech, we have some unbelievable stuff planned, and I'm glad you asked me about this. So we have Troy Karsgaden. He's a blonde-haired guy, used to be an insurance agent. He's fan-freaking-tastic. Bradley Flowers told me about him. We're bringing him in, and then we're going to do something called the panel in the audience. And this is something that I do at ITC every year. Little shout out there. I am having a brain share at ITC this year. If you come on out, you'll be there at that. And that's not invite openly. That's open to anybody. So we did something that's called panel in the audience. But then when we come back from lunch, we're going to do a 3-hour workshop with AI. And if you want to look him up, everybody, his name is Ruben Hassid. He is out of Tel Aviv. He is one of the top AI people. He teaches AIs how to use it. You need to go get his Sunday newsletter. It is phenomenal. Every time he posts on LinkedIn, he's going to get 2,000-3,000 engagements. I mean, just flow of comments. He knows what's going on. We're flying him in to do a 3-hour session to teach agents how to utilize this. It's going to be awesome. And then he's going to close out with a speech. Now, the next day on Wednesday, that's classes all day. We got 6 tracks of 6 classes, so a total of 36 classes. One of those tracks will be dedicated directly just to Momentum users. Momentum stepped up this year and said, we want to be a presenting sponsor. And we're going to do that all day. And then from 4 to 5, we close it up with Chris Voss, who is the author of Never Split the Difference. That is going to be phenomenal. People will come just for him, which I would too. And then we have a dinner. We have a live band. We're bringing in the DJ from the St. Louis Cardinals. We did that last year, and everybody said he's got to come back because he's awesome. He's one of a kind. And that is going to be everything we're going to be doing. And here's the cool part. May 5th, we open for registration. And just like we do with any IndieTech, for the first 24 hours, it's $99. For the first 24 hours, it's $99. After that, it goes up to $249. We still try to keep it lower than anything else out there because the importance is to get agents. So IndieTech is all about the independent insurance agent and the technology that powers them to profit. That's what it is.
Fantastic.
It's great. Thanks for asking about it, Monica.
No, we will be announcing that. We will be rolling that. I think it's an amazing deal. I mean, if you compare that to the prices of other conferences and the value that you get, it's peanuts next to it. So, and I appreciate you doing that. I think it's a lot of different people have very different needs, and having everything in one space, it makes it easier for us to understand like what's out there, but what actually do I need, right? What fits me? And I think it's a great spot.
And we do have trade shows going on the first day from 4 to 6. And then we have a trade show on Wednesday I forgot to say those are the trade shows. So they're open a total of 5.5 hours of trade show time for you to go around. And it's nothing but tech companies. That's the beauty of it. You're submersed in that.
Amazing. One question I had for you. So your BEs, right? When independent agents decide to use your BEs, does the next product comes with your BEs, or is that an option for the agent to adopt that, right? They will be getting the best of both worlds.
We have 2 betas right now for the next routing engine should be out in July or August, finished under development. Monica, you're a genius. The whole reason I wrote this or I made this was because not only what I said before, but I realized now let me put my business owner hat on. I realized that I could help agencies hire more VEs if I showed them how to route work. So you're 100% right that this is the selling process of saying, hey, you get this with your VE, and people will then understand. And then it benefits, once again, just being an owner here, it benefits the VI, or because now we know you're going to purchase more VEs, because people don't realize that there's 5 things you do in your office that are 70% of what you do every day. And I named most of them at the beginning. And when you realize that those 70% don't require a license, it's going to be very eye-opening to people. But yes, that is the whole reason I sat down. I had a conversation, as I said, with a $2 million revenue agency, and I had a $2 million. The $2 million had one VE, Monica, and he called me and he said, I've had him for 6 months. I don't see any value. I'm talking to this guy over here who's got 4, and he's telling me how profitable they are, and he's telling me he's loving life, right? And I'm thinking, how do I get this guy to see what this guy, and I don't know if they're necessarily guys, I'm using that as a term, but how do I get this person to see what this person sees, right? And that was how I devised that. So yes, you're right. It will be coming in with our VI.
That's great news. I do believe that, a lot of agents, and I actually was just having a conversation about this The agent that will succeed the most within the next 6 to 12 to 24 months are those that are willing to let go of this is the way that I know how to do it, and that can open their minds to try and to be okay with failing and trying again without getting, frustrated by the new ways that the new ways the industry is adopting. Now, I'm going to close with one question for you.
Okay.
How do you see, because we all know that this market is extremely dominated and monopolized by a lot of the big AMSs out there.
Correct.
Do you see them adopting things fast enough not to disrupt their market? No.
If there was anybody in this industry, in this ecosystem, that should be absolutely terrifiedly scared, it should be the AMS companies. I can't stipulate that enough. I was just talking with a dyad yesterday. They're partners of AI. So I used their name and I told them exactly what I'm getting ready to tell you. You either have one way. You either adopt the people who are going to be tech savvy, or you go after the people that are not going to change. But I'm telling you, those people who aren't going to change, you only got about 4 to 6 years of that market before they're all going to be there. Yeah. Think of it this way. Why do the carrier systems, most of them, pretty bad? I mean, I would say the word suck, but I don't want to be mean. Most of them are actually getting better. But think about it, because they'll tell you, we're built on legacy systems. It's hard for us to change everything. Now, think of what kind of business is the hardest type of business to change? A big business or a small business? A big business. Well, when you talk about Applied, when you talk about Vertafore, they're built for larger agencies. What's going to be harder to change? Larger agencies. So it's going to be hard for them to change their system, even if they want to. Okay. And here's the crazy thing. If anybody was on the call yesterday with InsuranceAgency.ai, which is the new Momentive product, it's a fantastic product. And so much so that the next routing engine, I have it open for investing. Peter and Michael, who own the thing, invested in the next routing engine because they saw how it's parallel to their system. Here's the thing that people don't realize. And they said it yesterday, 400 and some people on the call. Their system's agency AMS agnostic. You can be with any carrier or any AMS you want, and their system bolts right on top of it and does the work. Now, one of the things that I told Michael is, I said, Michael, if you think that AMS, that people want to leave their AMS because it's not tech enough, that's only half the truth. Most of them want to leave because it's not tech enough and it charges a ridiculous amount of money per user. Okay, that's another thing that they're getting caught up in, usage-based pricing. With the next routing engine, there's no per seat cost or per user. You have tokens, and you pay for the tokens, and as you use it, you get charged. Average cost probably going to be between $150 to $300 a month, depending on how big your agency is. It's called usage-based pricing. Now, when you think about an AMS 360 or an Epic, those are massive systems ran by massive organizations. And unless they're working on something right now, the truck, actually, to be honest with you, has already hit them. It's not like they're getting ready to get hit by a truck. The truck has already hit them. And once again, I love those people who run those things. I'm not here to down them, but I'm here to talk with Monica about insurance agents and what they need to hear. Okay. And that's what it is. I'm not here to down any of them. If Peter was here, the CEO of Momentum, he'd say, Jason, they're all great. That's why we're making a system that works on it. Now, here's what the AMS systems need to hear. You need to realize that your day of needing to do all these things are over. What you are is you're a system of record. Here's the deal. People are out there right now. They're like, oh man, I can go into Claude and I can just ask it for an ID card and it goes and gets an ID card. Great. Where's the record of that? How is that being safeguarded? How is that tying back to the client? That sounds easy, but you have to have something that it's based on. You have to have a system of record. And really, if you think about it, Monica, that's really all AMSs are, anyways. And we all know that, right? It's just a place for us to house our data so we don't have to go, right? The AMS systems that are awesome in the future, they're doubling down in that part of their business.
Yeah.
But what's happening? These AMS systems, they're actually not allowing people to come to their conferences, and they're trying to prevent people from hooking up to them. What they need to do is allow people to hook up to them and just focus on the fact that they're a database and maximize off that. Be the best database you can possibly be. And that's going to be the AMSs that are saying, when you get into this, you talk about vector files, stuff that are way bigger than me. Data and how it's being stored and for security is way different with AI than it is with the way they store it now. I would be doubling down on that because it's going to take a long time for you to reinvent your system. There's nobody in the ecosystem that should be more scared than right now than the AMS companies. I'm be honest with you. I don't know how they sleep at night. I really don't know how they sleep at night. Because we're talking billion-dollar companies, Monica. We're talking billion-dollar companies. Yeah.
It is a good shift. I'm very intrigued that you say that because, first of all, this call wasn't planned and we didn't plan that we were going to talk about this. But I'm excited. I'm going to the AVU conference and I'm going to be speaking there. And my topic and what I'm presenting is the new data company and how data plays a big role into the new, how you manage and lead and operate moving forward, right? And through a lot of conversations, through a lot of agencies and the industry overall, there is such a big gap when it comes to, where not only where the data is stored, but how that data is shown to the operator, right? The insurance agency owner or the operator of the agency to make quick decisions, right? It's no longer about understanding how much did you sold today or how much are you renewing or, it is about the rate of efficiency that you are having day over day in your agency and how do you have access to that information to make a decision tomorrow in case you have to shift quickly, right? Are you really going to wait for your commission statement to come in, or can you actually have a dashboard where you can see, hey guys, in the past 3 days, we have seen that X insurance company has had a higher acceptance rate and actually their premiums are X, Y, and Z. So we're winning more on this X amount of business. So let's reshift so we can write more premium and we can actually close more deals and our close ratio can increase. Let's reroute to this way. And I want you guys to focus on these 3 things.
That's right.
Why cannot we as operators have that information to our fingertips? And I am grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with, data companies in technology in the past 2 to 3 years to be exposed to that. But then, big AMSs like that, they are like, no, because you're gonna disrupt how I do business. But then we have the other side that it's hungry and they're like, we need that because that's gonna make us all win. And at the end of the day, the agency owner wants 2 things: increase valuation of their business and ensure that their margins are higher and their profit and revenue is there. That's and second, they want an engine, at least a lot of the ones that I probably talk to and you talk to, that can give them back their time and that they can, have more reasonable time frames to enjoy their life, at a probably faster rate than not getting to 70 years old and having to retire when they're 70. Maybe they want to retire when they're 50. So it's interesting how everything is rapidly changing and how we really have to be open to adapt to these things in order to survive in the climate.
When you start seeing companies, and I'm even going to throw this out there and we don't have to go there, and countries putting up walls and defenses and trying to separate themselves from everybody and trying to protect what they have, that's the downfall of any company, any kingdom, any country. Think of America 100 years ago. We had our open doors. It was come on in, okay? All those different types of things. This is what we're seeing with companies. And when you see companies starting to protect their way of doing business and their product and not being open to others, that's like an obvious sign of decline. So
Yeah.
you're right.
No, I appreciate you coming here today. This was a
No problem. I hope your people got something out of it.
Me too. We will be sharing your book. We will be sharing
Thank
IndieTech
you.
for the next year. I always enjoy the conversation with you, and I'm excited about the things that are coming. So thank you for always sharing your wisdom and for being here with us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a little bit. See what's coming down the pipeline.
May 5th, $99.
There you go.
All right.